It's everyone's favorite thing, credit card processing fees. I want to walk you through a simple 3-question test to see whether or not you should be charging your customers credit card processing fees whenever they use a credit card to pay for things. I've got a new little setup here, got a new mic. I'm going to try something new with you. I actually made you a slideshow to be a little bit more visual instead of just my big stupid head on here. So let's jump into this slideshow I made. So in all honesty, I probably spent way too much time going through this slideshow and making this for this, but it was really helpful for me to just get my thoughts about this the right way. So we're going to go through this together. You know how it is. You're a customer, you're shopping in a store, you load up your card or your bag, you get to the checkout counter, you say, do you take cards? And they'll say, yes, we take cards. However, there is a 4% fee for using the card. And it just doesn't feel good as the customer. Like, you're here to support the business, you're already buying things, and then like right at the last minute, they say, it's going to cost you a little bit more than that. And there's nothing you can do. You're not going to say, well, never mind, I'm going to put all these items back and then seem like a cheapskate. And you probably don't have the cash or checks to be able to cover the purchase. So it's just not a good situation for you at that point. From the business owner's perspective, if you have a business where you have been charged processing fees, have you ever looked back to see just how much you pay in processing fees? Especially if you don't ever see those coming out of your bank account. I actually see those come out as a separate charge every single month. So I know exactly how much I'm paying for processing fees. But a lot of times, places like Shopify, they're just going to send you the net amount. And especially for a retail store, you have so many transactions happening throughout the day. You don't know necessarily how much you're supposed to have deposited. So when you look back at it and you see, my God, like if you have a $100,000 business before any expenses, they're going to take $4,000 in processing fees. What could you do with $4,000? So it sucks from both the business owner and the consumer side. Nobody likes processing fees except for the processing companies. Everyone thinks that this is like the business versus the customer or the bank versus the business. Those are just like shadow enemies. The real villain behind all this is the processing company that you're never going to actually see. Whenever I worked at the bank, I was a CFO of a bank for like 5 years. And in that process, I got to learn a lot about credit card processing fees and the processors that are behind those. These are companies you've never heard of. They're companies that you're never going to interact with. If you look at the back of your card, you might see like Swift or Pulse or something like that. Those are the companies that are actually sending the data from your credit card or debit card from the business over to the bank where it gets processed, and then they're the ones that are actually depositing the money at the bank. So these are companies that you have no control over, and the business that you're shopping at typically has no control over, but they're making hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars every time people swipe those cards. So they're the villains of the story. They're the ones that we should be mad at. And I wanted to point all that out because there's so much emotion when it comes into processing fees. Just do a quick scroll through Facebook or search social media, and you're going to see how many people have such strong feelings about credit card and debit card processing fees. Debit card processing fees are something else entirely, because I do not think businesses are even allowed to charge fees whenever you use a debit card, but that's a whole different thing. So how do I decide whether or not you should charge a processing fee to your customer? I use a simple 3-question test. Number 1, will people spend more if they can use a card? Number 2, what experience are you trying to create? And number 3, what's the alternative to them using a card? What does that encourage? What are you encouraging or discouraging by charging fees? We have now 3 distinct different types of businesses under our household. We've got North CPA, which is a virtual online service-based business. Jessica has her author business, which is an online direct sale product-based business. And now we have the Book Dragon, which is our bookstore, which is obviously an in-person product-based business. I'm going to walk through the Book Dragon, the bookstore, going through all 3 of those questions, because it's the one that's just the most relevant right now, because 1, I'm sitting in it right now, and 2, it was just the most recent decision. But I think going through these questions might help show you how we made this decision. And I'm going to skip to the punchline. We do not charge payment processing fees at the bookstore for any types of payments, period. If you use a check, if you use cash, if you use debit card, credit card, whatever it is, you will not have any payment processing fees. So let me go through each one. Question 1, will people spend more money if they can use cards? I remember back from my Dave Ramsey days that people spend more money whenever they use a card to purchase things. I wanted the real number though whenever I did this video, and so I Googled like how much more on average do people spend whenever they're using a card versus using cash or check or any other payment method. I was honestly expecting it to be like 15, 20, maybe 25% more. The first result that came up showed that people on average spend 83% more whenever they purchase with a card versus using cash. There was another source that came up with like 4 times more. And I ran the numbers for the bookstore just for funsies, and it was something similar. It was like 60 something percent more ticket purchase with a card versus cash. So, average cash sale based on the study that I saw online, $22. Average card sale, $112 per transaction. So with the bookstore, are people going to spend more money if they use their card? Absolutely, they will. And whenever I think about this, at first it seems like almost a little unethical to say like, oh, we're going to encourage people to spend more money by letting them use their card. But here's the thing. It's not our job as the business to police someone else's financial decisions. So if they want to come in and buy books, they should be allowed to buy books with whatever payment method they want. If I felt a moral obligation to keep people from spending more money than they had, then we should just not even take credit cards. We should just allow cash or checks or maybe even just debit cards. But that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to sell books and to allow people to pay us in whatever way that they want to pay us. And so I don't see why we would discourage people from using the payment method that's going to allow them to give more money to us and buy more books. That makes sense. Okay, what else? Number 2, what experience are you trying to build for your customers? I know for a fact that if you wanted like a much bigger selection of books than what we can offer, you can go to Barnes & Noble. If you want way more convenience, you want to sit on your couch in your underwear and swipe through your phone and click purchase and have the book delivered to you sometimes the same day, Amazon is probably the better fit. So if someone's coming to our store, to the bookstore, it needs to be an experience. Every single thing needs to be thought out. And Jessica went through so much time thinking through literally everything. The paint color, the music that's playing, the volume of the music, the scent that's in the store through the little candle that we use. Like every single thing is so thought out. So if you're coming into the store, you're leaving behind the world, you're pausing all of your obligations, and you're looking through this local bookstore, you're exploring, you have all the sites and everything else. Why would we want the very last interaction in that store to be a negative one? The thing right before the customer leaves is to say, there's an extra fee if you pay with a card. Now that's the last thing they remember. We are so obsessed with the customer experience in this store. We even tell our employees when a customer comes in, we say, don't tell them, is there anything specific you're looking for? Because if the customer says, well, yes, actually, I'm looking for The Hobbit. Well, then the worker says, well, here's The Hobbit. Here you go. And then the customer says, okay, well, I guess I found what I came for. And they check out and they leave. Well, if we do that, we took away their opportunity to have an experience. We took away their opportunity to walk around the store and experience things the way that they want to. I get very annoyed if I go into a store and I feel like I'm followed around by the worker and it's like, I got to hurry up and get what I need and get out of there, I guess. And sometimes I just like browsing. So we make sure that whenever someone comes in, we don't say, is there anything you're looking for? We say, welcome in. Let us know if there's anything specific you're looking for. Now they know that we're here to help, but we get out of the way. We let them have their own experience, their own personal experience that doesn't need to involve us. So again, everything from front to end, when you walk through the door to when you leave, is a very thought out, very intentional experience that we've built for you. Why would we want the last part of that experience to be, by the way, here's another 4% fee on top of everything else? Not a good move. Number 3, there it is. If we penalize using a card, then what are the alternatives and what are we encouraging? So if they use cash, it represents risk. When people pay with cash, it goes into the drawer. Now there's more opportunity for cash to get lost. There's more opportunity for cash to get stolen, and it just provides more risk. Editing Seth here. I was looking through this and realizing there's another reason that business owners might encourage people to use cash, and it's because of tax fraud. They're accepting cash and they're not probably reporting that on their income taxes. They're probably not charging sales tax, and they're using that cash to pay their workers under the table. And so now they're not paying payroll taxes either. That's tax fraud. We don't do tax fraud. Don't do tax fraud. Okay, back to the show. If someone pays with checks, not only does it represent more risk, but it's more inconvenient. Think about it. If you bring a check to the bank and there's no cash in that bank account, that check bounces, you don't have the money and the product is now gone, and you might never be seeing that customer again. And you might be thinking, my customers would never write a hot check. My customers have the money to pay for things. Checks can bounce even for like totally good people. You might have somebody who reached into their purse and pulled out the wrong checkbook and didn't realize that they gave you a check from an old account. You might have somebody who didn't know how long it was going to take you to deposit the check, and they had another large charge come out of their bank account, and now they don't have the funds to cover the check that they wrote. There's plenty of reasons why checks could bounce, and by accepting checks over other payment methods, you're opening yourself up to that risk. Not only that, let's just pretend that the check doesn't bounce. You have to now endorse the check, go to the bank, wait in line, deposit the check, get the little deposit slip thing, come back, record in your accounting system, which is a way bigger headache than just waiting for the processor to deposit the money directly into your bank account. If somebody were to come into your store to rob you, they can take your cash, they can even take your checks, even if they can't deposit them. But you know what they can't take? They can't take all the payments sitting at the processor waiting to get deposited the next day. If anything, if I was going to charge a fee for any payment method, it would actually be checks. I hate receiving checks. I don't take checks for my CPA practice. It's a pain to have to endorse them and either mobile deposit or go to the bank. I would pay the payment processing fee every single day to just get the money deposited automatically over accepting a check. Recap the 3 questions. Would people spend more with a card at the bookstore? Absolutely. I have the data to prove it. Would a fee hurt the experience that we've built? Yes. Everything has been so thought out. Everything is a positive experience. Why would we put a negative experience right at the end? And 3, would it push people to riskier and less convenient ways to pay? Absolutely. I hate accepting cash and checks. I'd much rather get a credit card. So, very, very clear answer on the bookstore. We are going to accept credit cards and we will not charge any fees for that. So what's your take on this? Honestly, like how does that make you feel on both ends of it? If you're the business owner or the consumer, do you feel like business owners should ever charge payment processing fees to customers? Or are you okay in certain situations? I am very, very curious to hear your thoughts on this. And I think this is the end of the slideshow. Okay, for real, give me your honest thoughts on this. I'm open to feedback on both sides of the story, whether we should be charging the fees or not, or how you feel as a consumer and the business. Also, looking for your feedback on this format. Do you like the slideshow kind of presentation thing? Is it easier for you? This is all for you. So if you liked it, then I'll keep doing it. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.